So in this very lesson, we want to look at how best we can solve this quadratic equation using the factorization approach. If you have not subscribed to the channel, kindly do so for more interesting episodes to come. To solve this quadratic equation, in other words, to find the value for x, we satisfy this quadratic equation using the factorization approach. We are going to follow these steps that I've written down here to help us find the value for x, which satisfy this quadratic equation. So the first thing that we are going to do is to identify our a, our b, and then our c. A is the coefficient of what? S squared. The coefficient of S squared is what? 1. And then b is the coefficient of x, and that is what? Minus 2. And then c is the constant, which is what? Negative 24. Now once you have your a, b, and then c, you go through the steps on the board. So the first step says that multiply a by c. So these are a, these are c. So we are going to do that. So we are going to have 1 times minus 24. That gives us what? Minus 24. So once we are done, we move on to the second step, which says find the factor pair of AC, which when added results to give us B. So this is B. This means that we are going to look for two numbers that when we multiply, we are going to get what? Negative 24. So let's write these factor pairs. So we can have 1 and then minus 24. It is going to give us negative 24. We can also have minus 6 and then 4. It is going to give us minus 24. We can also look at 2 and then minus 12. It is still going to give us minus 24. And then we can talk of 3 and then what? Minus 8. We are still going to get what? Minus 24. Now once we find this factor pair, we look through to see which one of them when added will give us the coefficient of what? X, which is minus 2. Now we can see that when we add these two factor pairs, when we add them together, we are going to get what? Minus 2. Now once we get these two factor pairs, we are going to substitute the factor pair in place of what? B, which is this. So it means that in place of this minus 2x, we are going to substitute 4x minus what? 6x. So let's do that. So we are going to substitute this in place of what? Minus 2x. So we have plus 4x minus 6x minus 24. That gives us what? 0. Now from here you can see that we are having 4 terms. Now once we have 4 terms, we can factorize what? By grouping. So we are going to group the first 2 terms, which is this and then that. And then we group the next 2 terms, which is this and then that. Now once we have our groupings, we factorize. Now we have x here, we have x here. We can bring one of the x's out. Now one of the x's out, we are left with what? X. Now this x is out, we are left with what? 4. Now we can see that 6 can divide 24, so we can factorize the 6 out. We are left with what? X. Now this negative is out, we are left with what? Positive, and then 6 into 24, we have what? 4. And all of this is equal to 0. Now once we are done with this, we are going to pick those outside the bracket, and then we put them also in a nice bracket. Since this bracket is the same as this bracket, we can pick any of them. So we have x plus 4 is equal to what? 0. Our interest is to find the value for x. So from here you can see that x minus 6 is equal to 0. X minus 6 is equal to 0. And then we can also say that x plus 4 is equal to 0. So from here you can see that our x is equal to 6. And from here as well, we can see that our x is equal to minus 4. So the value for x which satisfies this quadratic equation is either x is equal to positive 6 or x is equal to negative 4. This brings us to the end of today's lesson. See you tomorrow. Bye-bye.